Hello and welcome here to Talk SCB and welcome back to the channel here, and we're going to be discussing the Champions League draw which took place this morning. It was a very exciting draw. They went on for hours and hours before they eventually drew the balls out of the small pots, and the inevitable happened. We drew one of the major teams that we could have done, and Real Madrid handed a tie against a team who may not trouble them significantly, but of course we don't know. This is the Champions League, anything can happen, and we're going to be taking a look at all the ties in this round, which is now the last 16. The ties will take place between the 14th and the 15th of February, the 21st and the 22nd of February, and the second legs then will take place in March, the 7th and the 8th, and the 14th and the 15th of March. So it's quite a while until these games actually get underway, but let's have a look at what the draw fashioned up in this magical competition. Manchester City were drawn first of all against Monaco. Man City playing the first leg at home. They came second in their group, of course, to us. Monaco doing very well this season in Liga 1. They also caused Arsenal a few problems in the Champions League a season ago. Real Madrid, like I say, drawn at home in the first leg. They finished second in their group. They will play Napoli. Like I say, it's not a game that says, Real Madrid are going to be running scared. But what I will say about that one is Napoli under Sarri will work very hard. They will not give Real Madrid an inch, and they'll keep going and they'll keep fighting. They don't have the quality that Real Madrid do. They don't have the squad that Real Madrid do. Unfortunately, Milik, who they brought in to replace Higuain, who started very well this season, is out with a cruciate ligament injury. So that's very unfortunate for them, but hopefully Napoli can give them something, to keep going, really get something from that first leg, and they can go into it in the second leg with a bit more confidence maybe. But Real Madrid will be pretty happy with that draw. Benfica home against Borussia Dortmund in that first leg. Very difficult game for Benfica. Dortmund very impressive throughout the group stages, and they've definitely been better in the Champions League this season as opposed to the Bundesliga. Dortmund in the Bundesliga very inconsistent. They drew at the weekend after their fantastic draw against Real Madrid in midweek, but they've got themselves a pretty nice tie against Benfica. Portuguese teams in the Champions League are not always the best. Of course, Mourinho won it with Porto back in 2004, but apart from that, they've not really caused a lot of problems. Bayern Munich against Arsenal. That is one that we probably did see coming, to be fair. Bayern Munich seem to draw Arsenal season on season, and Arsenal fans will be very disappointed with that one. Having finished top of their group, they oversaw PSG, and still they get drawn with Bayern Munich. It's a very difficult tie for them, but Bayern Munich this season are not quite what they have been. They've got a squad that is very good. They've got a manager in Carlo Ancelotti, which is very good as well, but it hasn't quite clicked for them altogether. That's why they ended up finishing second in their group to Atlético Madrid, and they've certainly got a difficult game here against Arsenal, who have been resurgent this season under Arsene Wenger. They do lie in the top two of the Premier League table. However, it's going to be a very difficult game for Arsenal, but they do play the second leg at home when some key players for them will be returning. The likes of Santi Cazorla will be back in the team for that one. FC Porto will play Juventus. Very good game here. Juventus finishing top of their group ahead of Sevilla. Very good season again for them under Allegri, going very strong. The finalists, of course, in 2015 when we won the treble. We oversee them in the final. 3-1. Porto will be going into it with a little bit of confidence. They absolutely destroyed Leicester in their last group game 5-0, so they do have some confidence going into this next clash under Nuno Espirito Santo now, but Juventus definitely favourites for that one. Bayer Leverkusen will take on Atlético Madrid, a tie that was replicated in last season's competition. That one ended up, I think, going to penalties. Leverkusen possibly could have seen off Atletico before that, but didn't take their chances. Atletico, once again, very much firm favourites in that one. The finalists from last season, and also the finalists in the 2014 season as well. And then the game which we will all be focusing on, Paris Saint-Germain taking on Barcelona. The first leg at Paris Saint-Germain in the Parc des Princes, and the second leg will be live from Barcelona in the Camp Nou, which Unai Emery has never won at the Camp Nou. And that's very important. A lot of people are saying Unai Emery is very much a cup manager. In his time at Sevilla, he won the competition many times. We know that. We've played against him a number of times. He often causes problems at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan when he was there at Sevilla. But I have to be honest and say that this draw doesn't scare me. It doesn't really bother me that we've drawn PSG, because I feel that the PSG are not the kind of team that we've been seeing over the last few seasons. Under Laurent Blanc, I didn't think they were the best team, but I thought they had a little bit of a threat. They had the likes of Ibrahimovic, they had Cavani, they've got Di Maria, of course, now. But this season they've been incredibly inconsistent. They've been very, very poor at the back at times. Their midfield doesn't always look organised, and certainly they are missing, of course, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who's moved on to Manchester United. They're going to miss a player who's got them so many goals. They're going to miss a player who's very much a talisman in the striker position. Cavani is rediscovered a bit of a goal-scoring touch, but I still didn't put him down as a sort of prolific forward. I wouldn't really be too scared of him coming up against Gerard Piqué and say Samuel Umtiti. I wouldn't be terrified at that thought. Of course, they've got Dangerman, they've got some very, very good players, but I'm just saying that at the moment, PSG certainly aren't at the level they have been at the last few years. Unai Emery is still sort of tinkering, he's trying to find his best team, which is something that he does. But of course, like I say, these games are quite a few months away yet. You know, February and March, a lot can change in that time. We, at times, haven't hit top gear this season. But what I will say is that we certainly have the psychological advantage going into this game. We've beaten PSG on nearly every occasion over the last few years, bar that group stage upset at the Parc des Princes. Unai Emery never won at the Camp Nou. He's still searching for that formula. So the first leg is going to be a big one. Are PSG going to give themselves anything to work with, or can we go to the Parc des Princes? If we win at the Parc des Princes, then there's no doubt about this game at all. The second leg will be much like it has been for the last few seasons when we've drawn them, whereby it's already done. It's already done and dusted, the result. If we can get a win at the Parc des Princes, which is more than possible, it's not a fortress, it really isn't, we've got a good chance. But of course, you know, let's treat PSG with some respect. You know, they're not a Sunday League team. They are a very, very good side. They're a side that, are expected to go a long way in this competition this season. But we have to stop them. We've got to stop them. We've got to play against them. We've got to do well. But what I will say as well is the fact that PSG are third at the moment in Liga 1. And that is a league that is not said to have an awful lot of depth, but they are behind the likes of Monaco and Nice as well, who they drew with 2-2 in last night's game. Edinson Cavani getting both of those goals. But in that game, they were 2-0 down. They lost 3-0 the week before that to Montpellier. So clearly PSG are going through some problems at the moment, like our own a few weeks ago, but we seem to be coming through those now. Possibly PSG will do the same, but still I feel as though we are definite favourites in this game. The second leg's at home. Everything is set up pretty nicely for us. We've got to go into it all guns blazing and get the win. Sevilla at home to Leicester confirms all of the last 16 ties. That was going to be a very, very interesting one, actually. Sevilla this season under Sampaoli have been absolutely fantastic. They're doing brilliantly in La Liga. They've got through to the last 16 of the Champions League, and they've got themselves a very, very nice tie against Leicester. Of course, Leicester themselves is quite an incredible story. They were terrific in the Champions League this season. They topped their group, but in the Premier League, they're in the bottom half of the league. But at the weekend, they did beat Manchester City 4-2 at home. They were 2-0 up within the first 5 minutes against Pep Guardiola's team. So certainly Leicester on their day can cause problems to any team, but certainly over the course of the season they've been incredibly inconsistent and nowhere near the level they were at last season, of course, when they won the Premier League title. Sevilla will fancy their chances going into that game. Sampaoli will have something up his sleeve. He's done fantastically well with the players that he has this season. They beat Celta Vigo 3-0 away from home in yesterday's game, but it's certainly going to be a very, very exciting Champions League. I think some of the games are a little bit boring in some ways, you know, the likes of Arsenal against Bayern, even ourselves against PSG. You know, we've seen these ties many times before. We wanted something new, we wanted something a little bit refreshing. UEFA have drawn up some interesting ties here. I think some of the ties of the round, I think Man City against Monaco is going to be a particularly exciting game. I think Monaco are red hot at the moment. Manchester City struggling to find their feet at the moment under Pep Guardiola. They're going through a few different systems. They've not quite decided on what they're going to do yet. That's going to be an exciting game. I think Juve against Porto could be an interesting one. Leverkusen against Atlético, another tie that we're going to see a repeat of. And like I say, Leicester against Sevilla again is a very, very exciting tie to see which team can get to the next stage. But they'll all kick off in February and March. We've got a little bit of a time to wait now before those games. But let me know down below, guys, what your reactions are to our draw against PSG. What do you think of that game? How are we feeling ahead of it? But like I said, there's a lot of time to go yet. A lot of things can change in this period of time that we've got to wait. But overall, right now, I'm not too disappointed with that draw. I actually said on Twitter before the game that I felt that we would draw PSG simply because we've seen them so many times over the past few seasons. So let me know your thoughts down below on the draw. How do you feel about the game? And are there any other ties in this Champions League draw that you're excited about? What do you think about Real Madrid's draw against Napoli? That's certainly an interesting one, something that draws debate every single time a draw comes up. They seem to get the nice ones, but is it a coincidence? But I'll leave you with that, guys. I'll see you very, very soon. But until then, as always, Vesca, El Barça.